So we've got a big new update on the David situation, and the private investigator Steve Fisher, who was retained by the owner of the property that David was living in when the body of 14-year-old Celeste was found in the trunk of his car deceased. Well, that private investigator that's working for that property owner, he's been digging into the case. I see him in court. All right, I didn't manage to speak to him. He was moving quick. He was moving way too quick for me. I didn't manage to catch up with Steve. All right, but I wanted to talk to him. I hopefully will speak to him at some point soon. Maybe we'll do an interview or something. But he has updated a comprehensive timeline that he has put out on his website for his private investigator company. Okay, so he digging deeper than anyone could have ever possibly imagined in this situation, and he's got a new timeline. And I think it's worth having a little look through this because I don't think anybody is as well versed in this case, other than me, of course, than Steve. I think Steve is probably one of the most deepest and knowledgeable people about this whole situation. And I think his timeline is going to be very illuminating for us. So this is what he's posted on his website. It says, David, the public activity timeline. This is a factual record of singer David Anthony Burke, also known as David. Publicly visible movements, performances, press, social media posts between April 21st and May 22nd, 2025. This time frame brackets the dates Los Angeles County prosecutors have alleged in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So it says, important context. LA County prosecutors have alleged two key dates in this window. On or about April 23rd, 2025, the alleged killing, and on or about May the 5th, 2025, the alleged dismemberment of Celeste. These allegations are currently unproven. David has entered a plea of not guilty at his arraignment on April 20th, 2026, and he is presumed innocent. This timeline is intended to provide factual context, not assert guilt, compiled from publicly available news coverage, concert and ticketing databases, and timestamps embedded in David's own social media posts. So, this is a really great timeline. It's color-coded. It says date alleged by prosecution, confirmed live appearance, social media posts, press and promo activity, travel inferred. So all these different types of incidents are color-coded, and we got some sort of background info about everything. And this is really just focusing mainly on the time around the murder. So it says no publicly reported activity. David's Coachella weekend, 2 sets end the prior day in Indio, California. Okay, so he was getting busy around this time a year ago. He was getting busy at Coachella, and then he was allegedly committing a heinous murder. So the day after that, the day before the alleged murder, BandLab announces a 3-day David pop-up event in New York City. And then comes April the 23rd. To April the 23rd. This is the date of the alleged murder. And it says prosecutors allege that this is the date that Celeste arrived at his, I believe, at his house in the Hollywood Hills on the evening of the 23rd at David's rented home. And this was the last time she was heard from on or about this date. Interesting enough, there's press going on the same day. Withered World Tour tickets enter pre-sale, but then also that same day, David appears to post on TikTok saying, your prayers have been answered, it's finally here. He's promoting the upcoming album release. Okay, I really like this timeline. And this is where things get dark. The day after the alleged murder, David's still busy on social media. He has a Withered World Tour tickets go officially on sale. He posted an IG reel saying my Withered World Tour is now officially on sale. And he streams on Twitch with a caption saying, put the album in the bag, bruh. And is streaming from a residential interior ahead of that evening's album release party. How is he still going live? He's still out here live posting. Then he makes a live appearance at the Withered album release party at the 100 Thieves compound in Los Angeles. The host text blast at 6:33 p.m. Announced the party would kick off in 90 minutes. Guests would be entering through the lot to the left of the building. Okay. And then he flies from LA to New York City overnight. The day after, all right, the day after, the very night after the alleged murder took place, he's hottailing it out of town to New York. Where was the body left? That's what I want to know. Where on earth was the body left while he jetted off to New York the day after the murder? Very, very interesting. So on April 25th, 2 days after the murder, his Withered project releases and it debuts at number 13 on Billboard. Unlucky. Okay, this guy is crazy, just out here having motion, committing murders, having number 13 on Billboard. All right, it's actually insane. So that's when the BandLab and David pop-up day one starts. This is at NYC's Union Square. It's an in-person fan meet and greet, stripped-down acoustic set, and group photo opportunity. And then this is the famous clip where he's crying on stage, I believe. So Afterlife was performed live for the first time at the BandLab pop-up acoustic set. David visibly breaks down crying mid-song. Note on dating. Most online aggregators date the surface clip as April 26 because that's when the widely shared IG reel went up. However, the same performance had already been posted to TikTok the prior evening, and a fan account clip went up at April 25th at 6:17 p.m. A clip cannot exist before its filming, which means the performance happened on April 25th. This also matches BandLab's published programming. So this says day one on April the 25th, that was the scheduled acoustic performance. And then day two, April 26th, was meant to be a non-performance creator workshop. And it says the visual setting in the screenshot, red metal chair, yellow acoustic guitar, held by an accompanying guitarist, and the David wordmark on the pink Union Square pop-up wall matches the April 25th acoustic stage. So this is great research and, private investigations by Steve Fisher here, because he's worked out exactly when all this happened. And he's even debunked some of the fake dates. So this is 2 days later, Afterlife became the closer of his April 27th Houston album release show, and he performed it twice. That same day, David posted "Mine is Friend Again, Say It Back," and "Ghost, to be honest, David, new music." So then on April the 26th, now 3 days after the alleged murder, he makes another live appearance, day two of the BandLab pop-up and create a workshop and Q&A. And so that was a creator workshop and a Q&A, and then it says the aftermath. Wider Instagram reels of the previous evening's Afterlife debut surfaces and goes viral. This is the post most online aggregators tag with the April 26th date, but the underlying performance occurred April 25. So he's going viral the day after the performance. He then flies from New York to Houston for an evening show in his hometown. He appears for a live appearance at his headline album release show at the White Oak Music Hall in Houston, Texas. Near sellout, his sister Emily Burke joined him on stage for the track Here With Me, and he closed out with Romantic Homicide. And concurrently, the NYC Pop-Up Day 3 hosts a live stream watch party of the Houston show. And on TikTok, he posts on his two own accounts. And then the day after that, he flies from Houston to New York for a Brooklyn show. He was not posting on social media around this time, which is surprising. He then performs at Brooklyn Steel with his family on stage. Show not on the published Withered Tour calendar. It appears to be a release week one-off. Then he posts one on his own TikTok account. Shame that that's not linked. That would have been good. He then posts more on April the 30th. And then this is a little bit interesting. I've never seen this before. So April the 30th, he does 4 TikTok posts. He then goes completely dark from May the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then on May the 5th, that's when prosecutors alleged Celeste's body was mutilated on or about this date. Could have been any or all of these days that he was actually attempting to, plotting, planning to cut up the body. That's actually spooky to know that he didn't post in those days. He knuckled down. He said, yeah, I need to go back. I need to knuckle down. Okay, we don't... Ooh, okay. I was about to say we don't know where he was, but actually we might know where he was. So on May the 5th, this is the date that the prosecutors alleged that Celeste's body was mutilated. And that very same day, David posts a story captioned, "OMG chat, should I get this?" with a photo of 2 skateboards with Kirby and Hello Kitty on them at a night market. This is a night market located in downtown Los Angeles. The food truck that reads Bandit visible in the frame locates it, and this was posted at the same day of the mutilation. That's very, very interesting. Okay, I want to pop out to this this night market at downtown LA. What the hell? That looks cool. Anyway, it says one own account TikTok post that day, and then the day after the alleged body cutting up, no posts, no public appearances, nothing. He does one TikTok post on May the 7th, and then he goes dark again for 4 days, recuperating after this horrific event. He doesn't pop out again until May 12th, when he does 2 more posts on his TikTok. Then he appears on the Tape Notes podcast, or that's when it publishes. We don't know exactly when it's recorded. And then he posts on TikTok saying, "Sorry, Mum, for posting your fall, but this is funny. I love you," implying he was physically with his mother. He's quiet on May the 14th. And then on May the 15th to the 19th, he travels from the USA to Seoul in South Korea. It says infrared, required to be in country May 21st. So he has to be there for this May the 21st performance near Cheonggyecheon in Seoul to perform here with me. And there's an IG reel that goes viral of him doing that. And then it says M countdown minute Seoul. He performs Is This Really Love? And then he posts, he said, I met Boy Next Door, Fiarmony, and me of too. Hashtag David, hashtag K-pop, and the posting cadence has fully resumed. So what I think this timeline does that's really interesting is it just goes to show exactly what was going on during the period of time when David was allegedly cutting up this body, the big absences and timelines that he basically, went through. And I think it is really, really telling. So I do think that SF's timeline is very valuable. People on Reddit are feeling the same type of way. They're saying SF made a full timeline. I think this is really, really interesting. So this is going everywhere. He posted on X about it. He said, this is a timeline I've put together covering the period just before it's alleged that David killed Celeste Rivas Hernandez through the time shortly after it is alleged that he dismembered her body. The timeline is based on recovered and deleted social media posts as well as confirmed public media appearances. It will continue to be updated as additional data is compiled. It can be viewed at the link below, and I've attached several screenshots from the timeline. The sequence appears to show a surge of activity immediately after the alleged murder, followed by a period of relative silence in the days leading up to the alleged dismemberment. On the date it's alleged the dismemberment occurred, May the 5th, 2025, a social media post places him in downtown Los Angeles around 11 p.m. One of the most significant unanswered questions is where was Celeste's body between April 23rd and May the 5th? The timeline showed he traveled to New York on April 24th. Within a single day, he would have had to place her body somewhere that he later returned to nearly 2 weeks later on May the 5th. On May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, he posted from downtown Los Angeles. A chow mein truck visible in the background can independently confirm to have been operating in that area on that date. Photographic evidence shows that David and Celeste spent time in downtown earlier in the year. Is there a connection between DTLA and the murder and the storage of the body of Celeste? Very, very extremely interesting. It says, I knew as soon as I saw that Houston Afterlife performance that she was killed in spring of 2025. People in the OG sub said, no, she was still alive now. We have confirmation that he killed her days before crying on stage singing Afterlife. Despite wanting to call him a psycho or a sociopath with no emotions, it seems like he did have regrets. I really do think drugs and mental illness did play a big role. I also wonder whether David himself was groomed from a young age by one of those nefarious groups that blackmail kids into heinous acts and became one of those groomers himself. That doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve the consequences of his actions. Of course he does. However, I hope that this case creates renewed interest in conversations around kids online, mental health, addiction, intimate partner abuse. They're key themes to the case, and calling him a monster is the easy way out. Okay. Saying, what is an SF? I wonder when the body bags were acquired. Did he have them ready to go? That would have given him very little time to move the body after the murder, possibly done at night while she was asleep. That only gave him about 24 hours to clean the crime scene and prepare the body for storage. Interesting lull in activity on the 24th with the 11 p.m. and now for sale tweet. Sadly, from my own experience, after a human has been dead for only a few hours, they begin to smell. In ambient temperatures, a body decomposes pretty rapidly. I found my friend deceased, and it had been roughly 2 weeks. I could smell it outside his house. I immediately knew he was gone. The only way for this not to happen is refrigeration or freezing. Okay, that was the rumor, but apparently that was debunked. All right. When did he do the show where he legit had a whole funeral with a casket? This kid is a sociopath. My opinion is only speculation, not facts, but in one of the older photos found in was a freezer still in the box. Obviously, we saw that was going around. So yeah, let's see what else people are saying about the timeline. Okay, Steve has a timeline, screenshots below. It says, them having specific dates leads me to think he either left behind digital evidence or cameras at his rental. Looks like he was doing public appearances in NYC during that period. I don't think it would be hard to verify his travel dates from there. Okay, it says, well, this would explain why the charging document still has the body mutilation happening 2 weeks after the murder. Still doesn't explain why the subsequent plan was to leave her in the Tesla indefinitely. Maybe he thought the heat would leave the body so bad off that they couldn't find a cause of death, kind of like how Casey Anthony got away with killing her kids because they couldn't tell the cause of death. Who knows really? I do know I'm ready for tomorrow so we can have some answers. So thank God he's not intelligent and used actual body bags because it contained every single piece of DNA. I want to know why this wacko even owned actual body bags. I do know body bags are heavy as crap. I used to work for FedEx and we'd have boxes of body bags for the hospital morgue at Johns Hopkins Hospital come down the belt. Each box contained only 10. They exceeded 65 pounds every week. They'd have a shipment of 10 to 20 cases of bags. Heavy freaking things. Anyway, I'd love to know when he purchased them or if he took them from the set of his music video. Regardless, the whole case is sad. from all angles. They're saying, I bet he did take him from his set, though. It's a good point. I think this was more planned out than just inviting her over and ambushing her. I think he'd been thinking about it since at least December when they broke up, because I assumed she would threaten and tell often when they argued, and then crunch time finally came with his album and tour coming up. Says, this is probably the most convincing theory I've seen here. It's my personal belief as well. Their relationship was very obviously tumultuous, and judging from that Twitch stream that David wanted deleted, she was aware it was inappropriate by the remarks she made. I have a daughter her age, and sometimes she'll just say things to get a reaction. I'm sure when they argued, she knew what to say that would get to him. Before anyone comes to me, I don't blame Celeste. She was a literal child. I'm blaming David. I wonder how long he thought about it. I'm also wondering how David meeting up and paying some kids truly plays into all of this. I do believe the story that they knew something and that he was paying them to keep them quiet. At this point, it lines up pretty well with what the charges are. Very dark. It says he definitely missed the fact that he was actually seen in early May, besides that downtown LA post, on the alleged night of the mutilation. Asia posted a video on YouTube of them reviewing Met Gala looks. The Met Gala was on May the 4th, 2025, and Asia posted the video on May the 6th. So sometimes between May 4th and May 6th, he was hanging out with Asia. Wow. Neo and Celeste Herrera. Here comes the kicker. Chase Keith, aka the one with that weird dismemberment video with the fly. In the photo here, you can see David, Ian, Neo, and Chase all together in that video. Really caught a murder, and then was out here looking at Met Gala looks. That's actually crazy. That is actually crazy. It says, who was she staying with if she was staying at his house, or she wasn't staying at his house? He had another property for her by the sounds of things, okay? Now, obviously, I should have talked about that yesterday. I've already missed that. Anyway, there was like other stuff related to the timeline that basically was going around. This was a post that I saw going around. They're saying David celebrated new music days after allegedly killing Celeste. And this is stuff that we already knew, but they're, TMZ and everybody's kind of reposting their own version of the timeline and basically realizing like David was really celebrating his new album drop with Celeste's handbag in the background on the alleged day of the murder. Was that before or after? Did he make this TikTok, post it, and then commit the murder? Or did he murder this girl and then hop on TikTok in the next room to keep his promo going? It's crazy. People are tired of seeing his stupid bonnet and his stupid nails, right? They're over David. They've had enough. It is very, very crazy, okay? So he apparently was attending parties shortly after the murder. As we saw in that timeline, there was all types of stuff going on. This is a picture of David at the 100 Thieves party just after allegedly killing Celeste. Confirmed time and location for the photos. Says social media posts by David can be wrong, but the party did indeed happen April 24th, hours after Celeste was presumed dead. Look at him having a great time. How is it possible that you could have just murdered somebody and you can just be outside having this much of a good time? That is insanity. I don't know how it's even possible. I would just be, well, I would never do that, but I just would assume I would just be on the ground shaking. So it was April 24th at 8 p.m. onwards. So, quite literally, day after, out here having a party, out here performing. They're saying he deserves hell. People can't believe it. Okay, he was really out there at the 100 Thieves having a great time, right? It's crazy. So someone's done an analysis of the autopsy report and the available evidence, and they're attempting to further narrow down the exact window and nature of the incident that ended up claiming her life. So this is a report. It's called Reading Between the Lines, the Autopsy Report Decoded. So for the record, it says this is entirely speculative opinion and personal theory based on publicly available information and independent research. The author is not a forensic expert, medical professional, licensed investigator, attorney, or law enforcement officer. Nothing herein contains a factual accusation, legal conclusion, or a statement of proven fact. All persons named are presumed innocent unless otherwise proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. Published for purposes of public interest, commentary on matters extensively reported in news media. The author expressly disclaims any intent to harm the reputation of any individual, contains no private confidential information beyond what exists in public court records and news reporting, i.e., let's not get sued, but we're about to cook David heavily. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Should we read it? It's a pretty crazy breakdown, and there's going to be some trigger warnings here, okay? Hopefully these are readable. If not, I'll add an IMGA link here. It says, warning, The post is graphic. Exit now if you need to. Pre-murder. David and Celeste were broken up. She had threatened to expose him and go to the police about his many crimes. David somehow lures her back with murder in his mind, and so she can't ruin his career and his hatred towards her. So he acts out his own fantasies of gore. 1:35 a.m. David leaves a message on his Instagram group chat called Four Heads, talking about his pre-sales for his album are available and leaving a website link to purchase the album. 9:30 a.m. A TikTok collab video was posted with Emilio Piano. This one is tough because the collar acceptance would have happened days prior, or it was accepted at that time. Should we see it?
Excuse me. Can you play this?
Interesting.
Oh wait, is that my song? Can I sing with you?
Sure.
All right, let's go.
Watch the sunrise along the coast as we're both getting old. I can't describe what I'm feeling. All I know is we're going home. So please don't let me go. Don't let me go.
All right, you get the gist. I don't want to get in trouble for this, but basically, he's over here performing. All right. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Collar acceptance. Is there more? Like, I don't know what that's all about. Let's see the group chat message that he left. So this is the group chat message. David's in there in the early hours of the morning, letting the Four Heads know. All right, the album's coming, the pre-sales coming. Get in there, please support me. Just do exactly as I say. Okay. Then we see at 5:53 p.m. And this is all pre-murder. This is when the Is This Really Love TikTok is posted. Possibly filmed the same day, possibly not. Either way, he's chronically online, so I don't believe these posts are being published by his management. It says, but himself, technically, there are ways to schedule TikTok posts, so keep that in mind. Let's see. Let's see the post. This is the one. So, Celeste's handbag in the background, this clown dancing around like he didn't just commit a murder, allegedly. It's dark, all right? It's darkness, darknesses. So it says 7:20, David makes another Instagram DM to his Five Heads group, linking his My Album drops tomorrow. Is This Really Love TikTok? New song alert and some gifs of Selena Gomez back to back. Then he shares an Imgur link to Instagram. The group chat evidence is here. Oh my God. So yeah, I guess he's back in the Five Heads group chat or whatever. Fine. So David is last seen on Instagram chat 1:35 a.m. She arrives allegedly between 1:35 a.m. and 7:20 p.m. and the crime occurred soon after her arriving on an empty stomach. She was murdered, I suspect, in these time frames: 1:35 to 9:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m. to 5:53 p.m., 5:53 p.m. to 7:20 p.m. I guess possibly after 7:20 p.m. Pacific time as well. I lean towards the early hours as she had no food in her stomach. She either arrived after taking MDMA and benzos 2 hours earlier before the arrival, or was roofied at David's house and he put them in her drink, taken by her at David's house 2 hours before her death, or false positives entirely due to decomposition, which is why there's no pill fragments and it was only detected in the liver. During the murder, she initially was probably in an argument with David, very close quarters, face-to-face, probably in the kitchen or some space where there isn't too much empty space. There was probably not a surprise attack in the sense that he went from behind. David had first stabbed Celeste when she was inches away from her in a sort of punching motion with a lot of force. That's wound one, the right abdomen wound. He was holding the knife sideways and stabbed at his same height level, as he's very short and she's normal height, so they were similar in waist heights. This would be the fatal stab wound to her liver that caused the internal bleeding which led to her death. After the initial stab, she turned to her right, trying to flee or just naturally reacting to that abdominal impact, so her left side rotated to David during that. We'll later know if her fingers were cut during the attack, but most likely not. If not, my guess is that her left hand was trying to deflect the knife, possibly grab the knife and it was amputated through that, but very unlikely. Now as she's turning to her right to flee, David stabs her with a very heavy force in her now exposed left lower chest area while she's turning to flee. This is when the knife entered her chest cavity and cracked the adjacent ribs again with a significant amount of force. Last minute update: due to figuring out that there were 2 more defects around her left side area, while she was turning, he likely tried to stab her 2 more times at the chest cavity area, but it only penetrated minimal, leaving minimal marks. Celeste continued turning, which is when her back was exposed. This is when David tried to stab her multiple times in the back as she was fleeing. This is where we see multiple holes in the back of her tube top, exact number unknown, where he unsuccessfully stabbed her. At some point, Celeste had raised her right hand in a protective/defensive posture, with her palms facing herself 3-4 times or more. Most likely she was trying to cover her face or neck, possibly upstanding or when she fell to the floor, and her hands were cut as she deflected the blow to her upper body, most likely the neck area, with the blade slicing across her hand. It points more to deflecting a blow to the face or neck when she was upright, and David had been redirected downward to the abdomen by her hand raised. We're looking at 3+ attempted stab wounds in her back, 4 stabbing attempts that were deflected from her hand, 2 confirmed stab wounds to the front abdominal area, so David tried to stab her about 9+ times. She lost consciousness within 2 to 5 minutes and was dead within 5 to 10 minutes. David did nothing to help her and indeed did watch her die. David was back online posting at 7:20 Cali time on his Instagram DMs group messages, talking about his new song coming out and sharing a TikTok. Post-murder, she was believed to be dismembered within 12 days of her death. It aids to the nature of premeditation. David had already performed at his Houston concert crying to his song Afterlife twice, streamed on Twitch, made a Reddit account, came back on Twitter, came back on Discord after a 2-month-long hiatus, spamming decay. During the dismemberment, not alive during this, he either had the body on a blue tarp, blue pool equipment, or he had dismembered her with some sort of cutting equipment with blue colors on it. Could be a container fragment too, when body parts were held in temporarily, but less likely. David used a manual tool, nothing electric or power operated, either a hacksaw or hand bone saw, to cause the flat, smooth cuts that were seen. Maybe he wanted to use a chainsaw but realized it was too loud, hence the unopened chainsaw. He used a tool like a pruning saw or something like that, where it's manual that cuts flat, as it's also seen at most hardware stores. He had dismembered her into a minimum of 11 pieces with 8 cuts, head and torso kept together in primary bag, right arm, left ring finger, left pinky finger, right upper leg, right lower leg, right foot, left upper leg, left lower leg, left foot. We're looking at a minimum of 30 to 60 minutes. David appears not to be a strong man and shorter in stature, so it was most likely his first time doing this, so we're looking at over an hour dedicated to this. Further aiding the dismemberment motive, that there was some sort of gratification or enjoyment, plus anger, I'd say, during the dismemberment, as cutting each leg into 3 individual pieces and cutting 2 fingers off requires precision, and it's an unnecessary step for the sake of dismembering to make carrying a body easier. Again, this is fully speculative theory and opinion. It can be very, very likely that I could be wrong in some parts, maybe all, maybe none. The courts will let us know the truth in the end, I presume. But I wanted to do a deep dive into the coroner report because that gives a lot of clues to certain aspects which have helped me build my theory on what happened that day. But this post took so much work today, I'm too tired, and I'll have to wait until tomorrow, especially as I want to explain the online timeline, but I need more sleep. Okay. Some people are saying this is AI, but it sounds actually quite well researched and like they spend a lot of time. It's people saying her head was not cut off the torso, but I don't think they said that. They didn't say that. They said head and torso. That's 1 piece. It says 11 pieces, 8 cuts. Head and torso, that's 1 piece. So I actually think this is actually quite credible in my opinion. Kind of got all the breakdown here of everything that went down. Yeah, we've got the gist. I read it to you in the post, so this has basically been reproduced. But I do think that's a really interesting breakdown. I think it just gives us a whole lot of backstory as to exactly how this might have gone down. So interestingly enough, an old David track has re-entered the spotlight. This is a track apparently called Dead to Me, Dead Woman, right? Literally, that's the name of the song, Dead to Me, Dead Woman. It says, I want to bring this very alarming lyric back to light, especially now that we have more information on Celeste's estimated time of death and the manner of death. It says, I'm laying my hands on your body again. It's making me nauseous. Oh, oh, oh. You can't make amends with a dead woman, but I'll dance in your coffin. Oh, oh, oh. We'll turn our pain into medicine. I'll forget she's gone, and she's not around to see me cry. Thought you had the Holy Ghost the moment they killed you, but it's still true that you don't know what happens when lost souls go missing in hell. Sold her the promises you made in the empty man you created yourself. Ha, ha, ha. You're dead, but I can't get over you. What the... Bro, you're dead, but I can't get over you. Heart starts to race. Too hard to move. What, the body was too heavy and hard to move? It's just the way that we fell in love. Toxic, but I can't get enough. Toxic what? Like you're dealing with A minors. Heartbreak and cigarettes smell from the room. Set myself a body inside a tomb. What, like how you left the body in your crib for 2 weeks and went and played shows everywhere? Like a tomb. 2 bottles of liquor getting poured for you. You're dead to me, but I'm dying too. Could that be a reference to him getting slashed by MS-13 in jail eventually? I've been thinking about being wasted and drowned. This is crazy. Okay, unbelievable lyrics. It says, to me, it sounds like this song was made around the time he killed her and put the body somewhere. According to the LAPD, it was April the 23rd, and she was dismembered on the 5th. He's most definitely describing having to go back to where he placed her and having to handle the decomposed body and then to dismember her. He's nauseous due to the odor and the literal dismemberment. David needs to rot. Yes, I know this song's been mentioned, but a lot of things need to be mentioned and then they've been forgotten. I tend to remember very specific things once new info is given, and it perfectly aligns with the songs they created. I hope they beat his ass in jail. That's what they're saying. Okay, so there's a couple more things, just random things that I wanted to talk about that I've had on my desk for a while that I haven't gotten into. I thought this was interesting. Because while our guy Steve Fisher is doing amazing work putting together this timeline, he's calling out other people too. He called out TMZ previously for spreading misinformation about the case. He said the cause and manner of death for Celeste Rivas Hernandez were determined months ago. As stated in the official press release, the cause and manner of death were determined December 9th, 2025. The repeated claims by TMZ that the medical examiner was unable to determine a cause and manner of death due to the condition of her remains were never accurate. They were waiting on toxicology, which they were able to get even in her state of decomposition. I've not been perfect in this case, but I've acknowledged when I was wrong. TMZ, on the other hand, reported that Celeste's remains were still partially frozen when they arrived at the medical examiner's office and suggested that David Burke was only recently arrested because a cause and manner of death had just been determined. That information is incorrect. At this point, nearly all of the information they've put out on this case has been false or misleading, and I'm glad that the facts are finally driving the narrative in this case. Celeste died by being stabbed by an object that caused 2 penetrating wounds to her torso and caused a liver injury. Toxicology found she was presumptive positive for benzodiazepines and methamphetamine, and I've personally spoken to witnesses who told me David used hard drugs with them. Right? So it's people saying, I like TMZ, but it feels like they know someone on his team because they keep making all these reports without correcting, raising many doubts, inaccuracy, and publicizing loopholes to benefit David. I remember them boldly telling the masses that David was fully cooperating and not on the radar of law enforcement. It's just sad to see, and I've been visiting TMZ a lot less now. I agree with Steve. David's lawyer, Blair Burke, had been described as Harvey Levin from TMZ's good friend and vacation buddy. All right, I didn't know that. So yeah, Steve would flame TMZ, and look, I don't have an issue with TMZ, but it does seem like there was some misinformation that was put out there, and it's not really been, the record hasn't necessarily been corrected the way it should have been. Says, because Steve's been right about so much already, he doesn't know anything either. When will they stop giving this quack attention? He's been right about a lot of things, to be honest with you. Steve's been more right than TMZ. I would say. People saying, I would ignore TMZ on the issue. They're good for just announcing celebrity deaths. That's it. They're celebrities' mouthpieces. Anything else gets real haphazard reporting. Get more reputable news for things like this. For instance, KTLA reported last year that Celeste was dismembered. So shout out to them. People are pulling up some old David lyrics where he's talking about getting rid of his tattoo, and a lot of people think this is another bit of self-stitching. It says, in the track Frontline on the last song of David's Withered Deluxe Marcescence album, this is the one that came out after the body was discovered, or it was teased for that, he talks about getting rid of the tattoo. He said, reading your text in the bathroom, in the shower, singing my sad songs, I've been trying to erase you. It makes me feel like an asshole, just got rid of my tattoo. I always knew it wouldn't last long, wouldn't pick up if you called me. I just threw away my trap phone. Maybe that's my way of saying thank you for everything you taught me, because I don't even hate you for real. Only thing is I could never change you, so I had to replace you. All right. For the longest time, this song was not leaked anywhere after the case started. A couple months ago, the whole David Deluxe album got leaked, which featured eerie songs that could depict what he did to Celeste. Right? So listen to Dead to Me, I'm so sick to my stomach. I looked at the lyrics for I'm Good from the Deluxe as well, and there's a part that literally said, I've been great, you've been rotting in your place. Like, surely that means exactly what we think it does. That is crazy. It sounds like he hated her so much. Some people have been speculating that actually the fingers and missing eye that were not there on the body when it was found. Some people are speculating that maybe they were left in Santa Barbara as a dumping site. Someone says, my speculation is they drove the body up there to dump it, only to discover dumping a body is not as easy as it sounds, and they returned with the body to figure out a different way of disposing it. Yeah, this dark. Okay. People saying, I think that's where they disposed or burned any incriminating items, bloody clothes, flammable stuff. A beach fire wouldn't be uncommon, as I usually have one if I'm at the beach and it's cold, but that's just me personally. But I think it's important because salt water doesn't break down DNA like you think. It does, but much slower, and they'd have a chance of being able to locate them based on water patterns and whatnot. It's a long shot, but they could, in theory, be able to find them with DNA still on them if they could. And yet more alarming lyrics have been going around. No, my bad. I already showed you guys this. So that is everything that I wanted to show you in this timeline video. So look, I hope you found that useful breakdown of the timeline, a little update on everything that's been happening. He's cooked. He's cooked. The cookout continues. I mean, I don't know what else to say to you. It's just a never-ending cookout, okay? It's not a matter of if. To me, in my opinion, it's a matter of when. When will this evidence, all this reams of evidence, finally be put in front of a court, in front of a jury, in front of a judge? And it's just a matter of time at that point. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. I do have one more video that I want to make on this. I might not have time for it today. Could be a tomorrow, could be a tonight. But yeah, I hope you found the videos that I dropped today on the situation interesting. I'll be back with more research and more reporting for you guys really soon. I just want to say I appreciate you guys so much for your support. I'm really glad that everyone enjoyed me going down to the courthouse, giving you first-hand account of what went on in the courtroom, and I'm going to be doing that again very soon. I'm very excited. Might have to pull up some other trials too very soon. So stay tuned for that, man. Thank you. I'm out.